Hi everyone, I hope you're well. My name's Atlin. It's great to be here with you this evening. Starting a bit later than anticipated. I was hoping to jump online at 5:30. I had a few issues with StreamYard, so forgive me for that. But the reason why I'm here with you this evening is to talk about inclusive leadership. So today is the start of National Inclusion Week, and I've started to give myself a challenge and to go live or to share some live content or a video every day of National Inclusion Week. And the reason being, National Inclusion Week is such an important week for me, and I feel it should be for all organisations who really are invested in wanting to create inclusive workplace cultures. And so, part of my, I suppose, aim is to really share my own experiences and to really amplify the importance of diversity, equity and inclusion. And so for me, I thought it was really important that I did challenge myself this week to really do more and to really, put myself out there and speak about, inclusion from a personal perspective and to help others really that are on this journey who are D&I change makers, who are advocates for DE&I, or for those that are just in their business and really want to try and make a difference somehow. And hoping that I do have some leaders and some managers that will also listen in, because I do feel that they play an integral role in terms of creating an inclusive workplace culture. And so that's why today I'm going to kick off this week by talking about inclusive leadership. So I guess the first thing is, what does it mean? It's a bit of a buzz term, isn't it? I'm an inclusive leader. But for me, inclusive leaders are individuals who are, I suppose, intentional. They really want to create and cultivate environments where every team member, regardless of their background, their identity or who they are, that they feel valued, they feel heard, they feel empowered to contribute their unique perspectives and their talents fully. And I think these leaders also prioritise diversity and equity is a really important part of this, not just as buzzwords, but as core principles in their leadership approach. And I think inclusive leaders certainly make the best leaders in my experience. And my goal is to be an inclusive leader. But I think, in saying that there's always work to be done. No matter how inclusive you think you are as a leader, there's always more that we can do. And we're also going to be faced with different scenarios. And I think this is why we need to be prepared and to kind of share and have these open discussions around what inclusive leadership really means to us kind of individually and within our organizations and within our teams, because it's all about our interactions on a daily basis with the people that are around us in the workplace. And I feel that, it's really important to understand the impact we can have, the positive impact we can have in terms of being an inclusive leader on employee engagement, in innovation, in basically on your organization's success. I mean, really, an inclusive leader can ultimately have such a positive impact on their team and on their organization that it can really be transformational. But conversely, for those leaders who are not inclusive, it can also bring about a lot of detriment and can really stifle talent, can, prevent innovation. People don't feel safe to kind of share their ideas or to give feedback, potentially missing out on some really good ideas, but also potentially missing out on some really important talent, because people just will not stay in an organization where they don't feel they're valued or heard. They may stay for a while, but ultimately they wouldn't want to grow their careers in an organization where their manager is stifling them and isn't empowering them to really contribute what they have and what they have to bring, and to also grow them. And I think that's another really important thing, that as an inclusive leader, you empower your people around you and you really encourage them. And I guess from a personal perspective, I've been so lucky to have that within my career, that I have been empowered. I have been given amazing opportunities, and I've really taken those with both hands and really run with them. And so I feel like, whilst kind of sharing this, it is important to, I suppose, give some real world examples. And we within Pepper Money kicked off our National Inclusion Week last week, and we had a great session by Frank Starling on allyship. And one of the things that he spoke about was identifying our power, and we all have power within the workplace. But as a leader and a manager, you have even more power. And I feel that that needs to be used in a really positive manner. And so, for me, in terms of my journey within diversity and inclusion, which started about 4 years ago now, really, this was something that I hadn't even realized was so important to me, was a passion of mine. But an opportunity came up, and I emailed my CEO following a town hall and expressed an interest in it. And he has really empowered me and given me so many opportunities to really grow my passion. And I'm hoping to have used it. I feel like I've used it in a very positive way to transform our business. And so, I'm eternally grateful for having an inclusive leader in Lawrence Moray at Pepper Money, but also in Simon Martin. Both of them have been integral really in my journey. And I feel that, I can't really say enough how important it was to have those inclusive leaders around me. And so, I do feel we all need to look back, I suppose, in our careers and identify examples where we were empowered or we did feel safe to speak and share feedback, and where we felt we could be most innovative. I think also at my time at the St. Lucia Tourist Board, I was identified as being someone who could make a difference. It was something that I was really passionate about too. St. Lucia is really important to me, and I felt honoured to be able to market the destination as a leading tourism destination. And so again, I was empowered by the people around me who saw the talent within me as a marketing executive. And, over time, I became the marketing director there. And again, I have to give thanks for having an inclusive leader in Patricia and others around me at that time that enabled me to do that. And so I feel that if I could have that same impact on others by identifying their talents, but also maybe identifying where they need to improve and be able to help them to see that and to enable them to transform their careers, that my career has been transformed by these really inclusive leaders. And so those are just two examples, but I'd love to think that, if you have any examples where you have had inclusive leaders, feel free to leave comments and to share and to spotlight those people that have had a really influential impact on you. Just to think about, what are the key traits of an inclusive leader? And I feel a number of things. I feel the first one is empathy, to really show a genuine concern for your team members, their well-being. And again, I had an internal discussion about this. And you can feel it. If your manager is not truly invested in you, is not truly empathetic and genuine, I think you can feel that. And so I feel, this may not come naturally to some people. And I think it does take time to build that. But I think, a manager should really take the steps to build that rapport with their team and try to get kind of beneath the surface, to really ask them how they're feeling, to ask them what their passions are, what their goals are in life. This is where you can kind of really get to know your team members and be able to show that empathy. And those also, I think, in terms of the highlights, what are the highlights in their life? It's not always about, any issues or concerns they may have. It may just be a real strong passion or something that they want to do, an idea they want to share. And so empathy, I think, is the first key trait that you would find an inclusive leader exhibiting. The next one is active listening. And I feel like I've had to kind of work on this. I'm a very good talker, I think, but sometimes could work on my listening. And it's not just listening, it's being an active listener, really fostering an environment where everyone's voice is heard. And sometimes you can hear the real voice at a time when you wouldn't expect. It may not be in a one-to-one. It may be having a coffee in the kitchen or something like that. But I think active listening and acting on that, remembering what someone's told you and later on relaying that, or thinking there's an opportunity and like, oh, that could be great for so-and-so because I remember they told me they were really interested in that. Oh, I remember, they did this in their past job and they haven't had an opportunity to do it here. Maybe this could be something. Or, maybe that day is a significant day for them. I remember they said that, something had happened to them on that day. So maybe I wouldn't give them this challenging activity to do on a day because I know it's really important. So I do think active listening is another thing. It can have such a major impact when you feel someone has really listened to you and is actively trying to support you through what they've heard and what you've told them. Another thing I think is accountability, to take responsibility for promoting diversity and inclusion. Obviously, I feel like we're all in business, we all want to be profitable, we're all commercially focused. But I feel diversity inclusion adds to that. It's not taking away, it's adding value. It's enabling you to be more profitable within your business. You're going to have a team who are thriving and who are doing well and really want to help you in your mission to have a successful business. So I do think accountability is really important in terms of DE&I, but also I just think generally accountability when things go well, take accountability for that. But obviously when they go wrong, I think it's also really important for an inclusive manager to take accountability for that too. And then one last thing, I think, I'm sure there are many more, but these are just the things that I think are really important for me, is around adaptability. Be open to learning and evolving in an ever-changing landscape of diversity. And that's what I just said, identify your blind spots, identify your weaknesses, as I said, in terms of, for me, this active listening, stop talking for a minute, take a breath, listen, give other people around you the chance to speak. That's where I'm trying to be more adaptable. But I really think that as managers and as leaders, that's the best thing that you can do in terms of understanding that you can always learn more. Reading up, speaking to people, getting to understand their lived experiences. Some people's lives are just so very different to our own that you could never really understand it unless you had a really meaningful conversation with somebody, and you can really learn from that. And so I do believe that being adaptable as a leader and growing, wanting to really grow, is extremely important, and that all of these traits can be developed and nurtured if they're not something that you have naturally. So I've been rambling on. I'm just going to close out by just identifying 3 clear actions that we can all take in terms of becoming more inclusive leaders. The first one is foster an inclusive culture by regularly seeking input from all your team members. Your team are there, they make you great, right? If you have a good team around you, this is a real good reflection on you. But this can only happen if you seek input from them in your meetings. If someone isn't speaking, ask them, go directly to them and ask them. Maybe they need that kind of in from you. So I do think, do whatever you can to foster a sense of inclusion within your team, because your team are the ones that are going to make a real impact on you as a leader and your business. I think secondly, invest time in building those relationships with your team members from diverse backgrounds. As I said, we all have an affinity bias. We gravitate to people who are like us, and that could be a similar mindset, a similar look, similar backgrounds. But let's invest time. Let's actually come out of our comfort zones and try to build deeper relationships with people that are not like us, who come from other backgrounds to our own. I think in the long run, this can have such a positive impact on everybody in your business, and especially on those people who you manage, who have got very different backgrounds to you. I think you can both learn so much from building a really good rapport with those people. And then lastly, I think as an action to take away is to commit to ongoing education and self-awareness about diversity and inclusion topics. Within organizations, we host a lot of different events. We share content and resources. They're accessible, but you can go above and beyond. You can get books on allyship, books on different things, maybe race, gender, whatever it is, religion. Read articles. There's so much content, even on LinkedIn. Follow people who are ambassadors for diversity and inclusion. You can learn so much. Keep abreast of what's happening. I mean, certain things that are happening around us can really impact your team members and colleagues. Be aware of that. Educate yourself. Take responsibility for your own education rather than expecting someone to serve it, to you. And be self-aware. Be aware of how your actions and what you say are impacting others. Are impacting on others. Think about the language that you use, think about the tone you use, the timing, think about who's in the room when you address somebody and how you address them. I think there are so many things that encompass self-awareness and the positive impact your own self-awareness can have on others.